guys, welcome back to my channel for a new costume video. I know it's been a minute since we've done this, but I thought we would start this year with this beautiful blue costume here. Instead of like having me in studio sketching, I thought I'd just show you the time lapse that comes from the app that I use. Again, I use Adobe Sketch to make all of my renders for my clients. So as you can see here, we're over here making the costume. This was actually the first draft of the costume before we got the change back from the parents where they wanted to change it to a turtleneck, which you can see here. So again, this is our costume. It's a little two-piece costume with a turtleneck and a long skirt in the back, mesh pieces in the front, and then it has this like mesh frill that goes over the arms and over the chest that will be right over some rhinestones. So I think we're about to go into the pattern making. Yep, here we go. Okay, so since this costume is symmetrical, I'm able to make this pattern on the edge of the paper instead of having to make a full front and a full back. We can see that I can just create the same pattern without actually having to make both sides of the pattern, just one side. So you see me here creating the top and the bottom bases. So that that top part there is going to be the sleeveless top with the sweetheart neckline, and then we have the briefs there with the mesh cutout at the top there, and I think, yeah, I lowered that line a bit just because it was kind of high. Yeah, so we're going over to the back. The back is only a brief because the back has straps, so we only have to do the bottoms here. As you can see, it was just a quick line across the top. So I think we're making seam allowances now. Is that what's happening? Oh, nope, we're making that same curve across the back to make sure that that matches the front. So simple pattern here. Now we're creating the seam allowances at the 3/8 line along all of the seams. And when we're done with that, we'll keep going. Okay, so when creating costumes, you want to make sure that you separate your pieces. So as you can see here, I'm separating the pieces like the mesh pieces and the bra pieces so that I can just cut out the pieces that I need. Sometimes you're able to cut everything out when it's in that one shape, but sometimes it overlaps, as you saw with all of the lines. And so, yeah, you have to make copies so that you can make those pattern pieces. So we're cutting this out of this beautiful blue mesh. I absolutely adore this color. I made a costume kind of similar to this last year for one of my students, and I think this young lady saw that, and she picked a really great color. It's actually beautiful. So we used blue mesh, blue lycra, and then you're also going to see some nude lycra for the lining that's about to come up here soon. But super quick cutout here. Not a ton of pieces that I needed. So I think that was what, the top, the bottoms, and then what is this? This is the back straps and the neck strap. Nude mesh for the front of the briefs and the back of the briefs, as well as in the neck hole. And then I think, oh, let's see. There we go. And then the lining. So quick cutout here, nothing too crazy. So super, super quick and fun. And here's the layout of the costume. Beautiful. Okay, so I have started to roll hem my edges on my skirts and any of my basic like frills that are on the costume, just so that it's like a cleaner, nicer, tidier edge. So that's what we're doing here with the serger. We have it on a very, very narrow rolled hem, and we're just taking it around the hem of the skirt and the hem of the top little piece there. So there you can see how it's edged there at the bottoms of these. I think I've connected everything at this point. That was quick. I don't know when I did that, but yeah. So you can see it's attached there, and you have those like rolled hem edges there. Here you can see that I'm pleating that brief part across the front that we had designed. It looks pleated here, but when we finish it, it'll look more gathered than like nice even pleats. So now that we've done those pleats, we can take it to the machine, and we're just going to serge this edge across so that that pleat stays with the brief, so we don't have to worry about having to like top stitch that. It'll just happen on the side and it'll just stay in that pleated position. Okay, so now we are creating the neckline of this, not the neckline, the neck band of this costume. So this is just a simple stitch of adding your strip on, add a 3/8 line, flipping it over, and then go ahead and top stitching this down so that it creates that rectangle across the top that makes the neckband. Okay, so right before I started doing this, I didn't put this clip in because you couldn't see it from what I was doing, but I measured the actual, like I pinned the top onto a mannequin and then I measured the back straps with the top pinned on so that I can make sure that it was covering the chest correctly and that it was sitting evenly. And then I folded those over so that I could create these two back straps that you will see in a couple clips that are on the back of the costume that creates the back effect of this costume. And this is the very last part of making a costume, typically for me, because I leave this part for last. I think most of the time I think it's going to be the quickest part, but it actually takes me the longest to get the legs into this costume. But it's my favorite part because I finally feel like I have a completed costume once the leg elastics are in. So I just go over with the first stitch to kind of base the elastic into the costume, and then I flip it over and I do my cover stitch top stitch. It's a cover stitch on the regular machine, not a cover stitch machine, and just top stitch it down, and then I think we'll be done. I might have used nude. I used nude here in the waistband. So I try to be very smart with threads, just trying to make sure I'm not overlapping blue on tan and use the same color family. So here is the final product of the base of the costume. As you can see, super gorgeous, looks just like the sketch, has that mesh pleating in the front, and then you see the frill across the arms. Okay, so this is my least favorite part of costuming, which happens to be hand sewing. So when it comes to appliquing, it's just not my forte. But here you can see we are placing the appliques onto the back of the costume. I think at this point I had already done the beginning or the front of the costume. I might end up showing that here in a second, I'm not sure. But she wanted two different color appliques and two different color stones, so I had to kind of cut these appliques up and piece them together to create a new applique shape, I guess, in colorway. But it ended up turning out very pretty, so yeah, kudos to her for thinking of that. So yeah, here we go. So you can see what I did in front, applying the appliques, just cutting them up, making them create the shape that I wanted, and still giving it that frill, but keeping the two color tones in there. Oh, and then you can see the back straps. So here we go, hand stitching this sucker. Our base with our completed appliques. So all that's left now is to rhinestone this baby, which I think we end up using almost, I want to say somewhere near 2,500 stones when we go to do this. So again, we're using two different stone colors. Right now we're starting with, I think this is the blue zircon, which is actually kind of a greenish color instead of any sort of blue. But yeah, so this is blue zircon that we're using on the greenish teal appliques, and I think that's what we start with, and then we go into the sapphire AB. So I used two different sizes of your sapphire ABs. I used a 30 for the top, as you can see, so these are bigger stones. And then we're gonna go into some 20s a little bit later. So those are the ones that I typically use on almost everything. 30s is just a little bit bigger. If I'm really trying to like get some big stones in there, I'll use a 40. But on this costume, we just use 20s and 30s. So we're gonna take the top all the way through with 30 stones. So this year I decided to go with Rhinestone Chic for stones. I'm going to leave their profiles below for you to check out. They have a good range for your budget, Preciosa, Swarovski, regular crystal. But yeah, check them out. Now remember, this is a kid's costume, so I used almost 6 gross of 30s on a child-sized costume. So if you are working with a larger costume, be mindful of using 30s on that top because you will need a lot more. And like I said, 30s cost a bit more than 20s. So if you're going to use 30s, just budget for that. Also know that those 20s are also, you'll have to use more of them if you decide to use 20s. So yeah, I think on the back and on the hip here, we used 30s and then used 20s to create the like longer branched out detail. And on all the appliques, I think we used 20s. So we used 20s in the sapphire AB for the blue parts, and then we used 20s again in the blue zircon for the green parts of the appliques. So here is the completed costume with all of the rhinestones in its glory. And I hope you like it. I know the client's like loves it. I've already sent it to her. So yeah, this was a blast to make. It's super sparkly, like beyond sparkly, but it's stunning, and I cannot wait to see this young lady dance in this costume this season. But yeah, so I'm gonna let you guys watch these clips of the final costume, and I will see you guys in the next video. Hopefully that will be soon because I've already recorded it, and it's just the point of me putting it together. So see you guys next time. Thanks again for following. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.